I am Coy Jandro here for Comic Book Shopping. We are at Golden Apple Comics on Melrose, and I'm here with Jack Dylan Grazer, star of Shazam.
Yep. I love it.
Highly recommended.
Well, thank you. You're like a sommelier of comic books.
I try to be.
You really are. Well, would you look at that? Badoink.
You're all those things.
I'm all those things. I'm a jack of all trades, literally.
Puns. Want to do some comic shopping?
Let's do it.
Let's buy some comics.
Welcome back to Movie Talk. Today we've got some new updates on Bond 25. On top of that, it's a brand new trailer for the new Men in Black movie. And then guess what? People out there, they've seen Detective Pikachu. We know what they think. We might have someone at this desk right now who has seen the movie in full, so we are going to get into that. Hello, guys. So happy to have you back. So happy to have Rocha and Silas back on the show. Silas, how you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me back.
Always happy to have you here. Rocha, you right there?
He's such a jovial SOB. I don't like sitting next to him because I look like a bitter old man next to him. He's like, everything's great. I like Silas so much. Silas, welcome back, man.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have you back. Avengers Endgame's been blowing my mind for the last few days, so let's just talk other movies for God's sake.
Yes. Before we get into today's lineup, we want to give you guys a little bit of an update on John Singleton's condition via THR right now. They are hearing that he is currently in a coma after suffering a major stroke. His mother has written in an application for temporary conservatorship. So that is the current status, and we just wanted to take the opportunity to send our prayers and well wishes to him and his loved ones. Did you guys have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, this is such a, on the heels of the Luke Perry stroke, this is pretty unsettling and uncomfortable and sad on so many levels, and it must be pretty serious if the conservatorship is coming into play now. And, you know, John Singleton is one of those directors coming out of the Spike Lee school, having worked with him so much, and then doing Boys in the Hood, which is still one of the most seminal 90s movies ever made that really kind of opened the door to what was happening in the inner cities. And John's been working, you know, off and on over the last, since that time. So he's someone that people who love film still ultimately respect, and it's terrible, tragic news to hear that this is happening to him.
Yeah, it's incredibly sad. He has some really great films. He has a movie that's not a great film, but I have friends that love Abduction.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a slick movie, but it's so silly. But I honestly have a friend who at his bachelor party made everyone watch Abduction.
Well, there you go.
All right, well, once again, guys, our thoughts and well wishes are with him and his family right now, so we hope to have better news on that front very soon. All right, no good transition for this, but we are going to roll into our main lineup today, and our top story of the day is a brand new Bond 25 update. So we've got some details. That does not include an official title for the movie, but we do have an official synopsis. I'm going to read it for you right now. Bond has left active service and is enjoying a tranquil life in Jamaica. His peace is short-lived when his old friend Felix Leader from the CIA turns up asking for help. The mission is to rescue a kidnapped scientist. Turns out to be far more treacherous than expected, leading Bond onto the trail of a mysterious villain armed with a dangerous new technology. So in addition to that, we also know of the cast who is returning and also some new faces in the mix. You know most of the main players in this. So new faces include Dolly Binshala, hope I pronounced that right, Billy Magnuson, Ana de Armas, David Denkick, Lashana Lynch, who you might recognize from Captain Marvel recently, and of course Rami Malek. And in a brief video message that Rami Malek posted, he basically confirms that he's playing the villain. In case you don't know, Bond 25 is due in theaters April 8th, 2020. So, Rocha, with all this information here, does any of it do anything for you in terms of making you even more excited for another Bond movie?
Well, we've seen this in action film tropes, this idea of pulling someone out of retirement and putting them back in the mix, and can they still do it? And we know the whole thing at the end of Bond was him walking, or end of Spectre rather, was him walking away from Blofeld and going with Lea Seydoux. Seeing Lea Seydoux in the cast, it means they're going to continue this storyline and this romance. I don't know how it ends up because we know what happened with Vesper Lynd, so where Eva Green ended up at the bottom of the water. So like, you look, is this what's going to happen with her? It excites me that she's coming back because now we've got this new Bond of the last few years that is with one woman woman only. Yes. Does he occasionally do his thing? Yes. But he is with one woman only. So to hear that he's being pulled back in, it must be something pretty severe from the pull back in. And Felix, which I think is Jeffrey Wright, I think that's the actor who plays that, him bringing him back in is interesting as well. So all of this makes me excited. Rami Malek, I hope it works out with him as a villain. I'm excited to see him play that level. You know, we saw a lot of that in Mr. Robot, that he can vacillate kind of back and forth depending on what he wants to do in the film. Lashana Lynch, Ana de Armas, of course, out of Blade Runner 2049, has my heart always. And so all of that I'm excited about. And Magnuson as well, who I've been enjoying his work piece by piece as he's been kind of building his resume as well.
I hope this is a good move for Rami Malek. I don't know why I keep thinking about this, but I have Oscar Isaac jumping into Apocalypse in my mind right now. And it's, you know, I don't want to throw that movie under the bus, and it's not the same thing whatsoever. I just want this to be a villain role that's worth his time. I was a little underwhelmed by Christoph Waltz's role when he was in the Bond franchise, so I really want to see them knock the villain out of the park. And when it comes to the new faces, I think the two that have me most excited are Ana de Armas and Lashana Lynch, because I think Lashana Lynch just did the absolute most she could with the screen time she had in Captain Marvel, and I'm eager to see some range there.
She's also 355 on the Why the Last Man series, which seems to be on pause, but is such perfect casting. Yeah. But as far as Bond goes, I love James Bond movies. I'm going to watch all the James Bond movies leading up to this one. The timing of this felt so bad.
Yeah.
Because it was like,
okay.
I mean, it's very early in the morning. It's like the Avengers is coming out today.
Yeah.
Your announcement that you're making really, there's like 2 or 3 cast members they announced. They even said, well, we already filmed in Norway, so it's not even the start of production. It just was sort of underwhelming to just be like, yeah, we're making a Bond movie.
So I almost feel like maybe what would have made the bigger impression was if they would have announced a title. And maybe it's just because my mind is going down that path of, why didn't they announce a title? Is it something big? Is it something they're keeping top secret for a little longer for a big reason? But I don't know, for some reason, the plot synopsis is important, but reading a giant block of text isn't necessarily what's going to get me super hyped about this and push Endgame out of my mind for the time being. So when all this happened this morning, I wasn't getting up for it.
Yeah. And I think Silas brings up great points. And you too, this idea of we already knew they were shooting. We already knew stuff was happening. So now to hear that they've shot a little bit more, that they don't have a title, and the synopsis isn't as in depth as you would like, you're like, okay, what was the point of this, and why now? But I will say, you asked at the beginning, does this excite me? I would say Blofeld not coming back excites me. I as much as I like Spectre, and I'm one of those rare people that enjoyed Spectre, and I can even defend Quantum of Solace sometimes, I know that those aren't as good as Casino Royale and Skyfall. And this may be one of those situations like Star Trek, in reverse, in that the odd ones are the good ones rather than the even ones. So maybe this being the 5th movie will be a good one with everybody involved, because it's an incredible cast. So in that way, that excites me overall. But yeah, your point is absolutely correct. The timing is terrible.
Why do you think they didn't announce the title today? Is there a reason to keep it secret other than just saving something to have another big announcement day?
I kind of think they might not have one yet. Bond titles are weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing, too, for a franchise that obviously has so much history to it. And if you're an old school Bond fan, you knew that Ian Fleming's estate was called GoldenEye. I think most people, when they say GoldenEye in Jamaica, people are like, the 1995 Pierce Brosnan film? And that's because they were so desperate for Ian Fleming-generated titles that they took the name of his house. When I was in college, my friends and I used to joke that at that point in time, there were only 2 Ian Fleming titles left. And one of them was Quantum of Solace, which is a short story that's like a parody of the writing of Somerset Maugham that barely has James Bond in it. He makes a cameo in it. And we would joke that would be a movie. And then it became a movie. So the only title left right now, 007 in New York.
Oh, God.
Could you imagine?
Oh, God.
I don't think, that's not possible.
No, I don't think that's possible. They shot in Norway.
I know. All right. Well, we are going to wait and see as we get additional updates on Bond 25. You're going to hear about them right here on Collider Video. All right. Next story is a big one that I'm very excited about. Detective Pikachu. I have completely fallen in love with the marketing campaign for that movie. And now some folks out there were lucky enough to see the movie. Reactions are pouring in. And right now, I'm going to read 3 of them for for you. One is from our very own Dave Trumbore, who says, just saw Detective Pikachu here in Tokyo, and man, I wish Rhyme City was a real place because I really want a Pokemon pal. Then our own Steve Frosty Weintraub wrote, if Rhyme City from Detective Pikachu was a real place, I'd make plans to visit it tomorrow. The movie is a lot of fun and filled with Easter eggs. Pokemon fans are going to love it, but it is still welcoming to those that don't the world. I think he meant don't know the world. Sorry, now I feel like a jerk for spelling, for correcting Steve's tweet. We've got one more to read, and it happens to come from Silas, who wrote, I had a lot of fun with Detective Pikachu. It is so unabashedly odd. I was grinning the entire running time. All right, I'm going to let you have it first, Silas. Do you have to stick to just this tweet alone, or can you give us any more insight?
I think I'm not supposed to go into too many details, but it really took me back nostalgia-wise. I was too old for Pokemon, but my sister's 10 years younger, and she was very, very into it.
You were into Pokemon Go, though, because if I remember, actually, I do remember this very well. We were at Star Wars Celebration London, and I was a step behind where I hadn't started yet, and you were playing the entire time.
And I stopped playing. I actually played for the first time this morning in like a year after seeing the movie.
Do you think that something like this is going to rekindle more interest in that? I know there's a lot of people out there who have never stopped using the app, but I mean, a lot of people, at least in this office, have.
It was fun for me, and I have such a fond theatrical memories of taking my sister to see the first movie. I actually remember taking her to see The Iron Giant in 1999, and there was a trailer for the Pokemon movie, and she was a little girl, and she got really scared and wanted to leave, and I remember looking at her, and she was holding a plush Eevee, and she had a Pikachu shirt, and I was just like, they're not going to give us our money back. So I convinced her to stay, and it is now Iron Giant is her favorite movie, and she's working in animation, so
wow.
I think of that when I think of Pokemon.
That's a really nice touch there. Rocha, I don't think we've ever have we discussed Detective Pikachu on this show before together?
I don't think we have, no.
So what do you think of it?
Well, seeing positive reviews is a good thing. I would say this. If I don't get a screening for it, I don't know if I would rush out to see it, but knowing that it's out there and it's a positive thing. And I think the reviews from Dave and Frosty are very cool, this idea that you want to live in the city. I know that's one of those things that always brings me back to Harry Potter, is like, I would like to live in that world. It's such a well fleshed out world within the construct of the film that you want to be part of it. And in fact, that's how I ended up working at Harry Potter for a while here in LA, because I went to the Orlando one and was so engrossed in the world. So if they can bring that world to life through Pokemon, that'll be really half the battle for me. And then the fact that it's odd, so enjoyably odd, what you wrote makes me go, okay, well, this could be a fun film to just go and just enjoy it and go on the ride with it. And if Ryan Reynolds is funny or the jokes hit, then I'll probably have a great experience while I'm watching it. So yeah.
That's always what appealed to me about Pokemon in general. I mean, I was never super steeped into it. Like, you can't quiz me on it and think I'm going to know everything. But I did play the Red and Blue on Nintendo quite a bit when I was growing up, and I played a lot of Pokemon Go that particular summer. And one of the things that I always loved was not even necessarily how fleshed out the world was, but almost like the wish fulfillment quality of like wanting to catch one and wanting to have a Pokemon as like a little buddy. So if this movie can kind of conjure those same feelings of wanting to be steeped in the world in that capacity, I think I am going to be very satisfied and borderline obsessed. Yeah. So we'll see. Because like, we also have to ask the bigger question that Silas can't answer for us is, in addition to the world building and just how they put the Pokemon into existence here, the story, like the beginning to end story, the character arcs, things like that, it needs to support that as well.
One question for you. Does this really qualify, if it's a good film, as a good video game adaptation? Because it's not like, because most people think like Warcraft or if Uncharted comes out and it's good, like this is, or Assassin's Creed, like that's what they correlate. I think most people correlate that with video game. Or Tomb Raider. Do they think, is this under that realm? Could this be considered?
I think so. And I had never played the actual Detective Pikachu game, which I guess is only a few years old. But I was reading about the plot today, and it is based on that. It's not just taking the name.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, we're going to find out soon enough now if this is actually one of the best video game adaptations out there. I'm certainly rooting for it. Guys, we have to remind you before we move on with our show notes that we take your live Twitter questions at the end of the show. #Collider Movie Talk. Keep them different, short, sweet, fun. let's have a good time. All right, next story here. Oh, Rocha, this is your story.
Yo.
We've got a brand new trailer for the Deadwood movie, and we've got two folks at this table who have not watched Deadwood. I wonder who they are, and one who has. So, Rocha, I'm going to put the ball in your court first.
Yeah.
What did you think as a fan? Did this do it for you?
Hell yes, man. Right back into the world of Deadwood, the darkness, the constant death on the horizon, the difficult moments that you have to negotiate between these people, everybody being on edge, and also moments of humor. All of it is here. This idea they're bringing back Gerald McRaney to play Hearst, which if you know the third season of the series is huge. I'm sorry, but just from the trailer, you need to watch the series. You do. You need to watch the series. And I think it's coming out on HBO. First is a movie, right? And then coming out in a theater. So do yourself a favor. If you can't watch all three, at least watch the last season and you'll get an idea of what they're going for. Because Hearst, through the first two seasons, it's Swearingen versus Timothy Oliphant's character, and then Seth Bullock, and then in the third season, Hearst comes in to overpower both of them, and it really shocks their world. So to see all these characters coming back, seeing the status that they're in, seeing the relationships again, seeing Calamity Jane again, Robin Weigert, who's so fantastic as Calamity Jane, seeing all these people back in the world of Deadwood, I'm the outlaw. So I thoroughly love Westerns, and add on top of it one of the greatest series of television ever created. The fact that they're still capturing this mood and atmosphere of the show again gets me even more excited, and even more so because this may be David Milch's last shot at it with what we hear about the Alzheimer's and stuff. I was reading about that today, which really broke my heart because since NYPD Blue, Milch has been one of my guys that I watch. I even defend John from Cincinnati, which nobody defends, as a fantastic jazz piece of television. So that's what I'll say. I love it. I can't wait. May 31st, I'm going to reach out to HBO and be like, please send it to me early. So we'll see.
I hate to say this because I don't want to rain on your parade at all.
Yeah.
I'm excited that you're super excited for this. Watching this trailer, not having seen the show, it does absolutely nothing for me. And
that's fair.
I think that's fair and fine. The fact that I don't know the story and the characters and the details, that all makes sense. I didn't expect to, and I didn't expect this to be basically a 101 on Deadwood for me. But one quality that I think would behoove them to have in their marketing campaign is some sort of hook that makes me want to know more, that encourages me to go and seek out the original show so that then I could catch up for the movie. And I can't say that this particular trailer really did it for me. I think if anything, the teaser almost got there a little, but I haven't seen anything thus far that says to me, I'm going to want to jump back into Deadwood so that I could be prepared for this movie. Silas, do you feel otherwise?
I do. I kind of really appreciate just doing it for fans of the show. Having not watched the show, I think I promise I will watch the show. I will watch the show and I will see the movie in time for the movie to come out, because it has been a show that I think for 10 years people have told me this is one of my favorite shows. You should watch it, and it's been on my list. And I think honestly the fact that those 10 years they were saying they were going to make a movie was always the when they finally make the movie I'll get caught up, and I'm out of time. I need to watch Deadwood.
Do you think that in general, because this isn't really the only scenario we have now where a TV series is running and then eventually we're talking about a movie in the works, do you think that some of the marketing campaigns should be geared towards newcomers in order to broaden the audience before this comes out?
I think you make a fantastic point, and it should. I agree with you that it should. Some kind of introduction or something, because these are all historical characters for the most part. Calamity Jane existed, Hearst existed. That's William Randolph Hearst's father. So it's these people existed. Swearingen existed. Bullock existed. They all existed. Do they play with their storylines? And of course. But I think a little primer or background. Maybe an explainer video on Deadwood would be of course, would be a smart way to go about it to get people to understand this world. And I'll happily do a rewatch and do an explainer video right afterwards, because that is a fantastic show. It's only 10 episodes a season, so it's not a big commitment necessarily. You do it in the weekend if you wanted to. And so I agree through
10 episodes a season, 3 seasons.
Yeah, it's 30 hours. You can do that.
That's a weekend for me.
You do 15, sleep 9, you're good. No, but I think you make a great point, Perry. They have to bring people into kind of who want to be a part of it, and it got to be too expensive, which is why they canceled. And they struggled for viewers for the most part, or it would have gone as long as The Sopranos did. So, and that's a question back to you. If they did a Sopranos movie, would you need a primer on that?
No,
or is that a simple thing?
I watched all of The Sopranos.
You watched it.
That's a completely different scenario where all they have to do is anytime I see a trade report that says so-and-so is cast in The Sopranos,
Right.
it's always going to pique my interest because I'm previously invested in the show.
Right. Would you think a trailer that like kind of gave you the litany of Tony Soprano and his people, if they were to do a movie, which of course they can't because they don't have any time, but for example, would that have been good?
I think my natural mentality, whether we're talking about, a situation like this with a show that's being turned into a film eventually, or even like a multi-film franchise, I always love the idea that you want to broaden your audience with every single installment and make it accessible no matter what. It's like, even with us talking about the MCU all week, one of my favorite qualities about the large majority of their most recent installments is that anybody could watch them. Yes, you need the events of Infinity War, obviously, to add the stakes to what's happening in Endgame, but you could isolate Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Spider-Man Homecoming. Sure. Really, you can jump in at any point. And the other cool thing about a whole bunch of those movies is not only are you getting a complete story in that particular character's world, but there's also little bits in that encourage you to go and explore other ones of the MCU movies that you haven't seen before. So I always like seeing that in basically all of my entertainment across the board.
Silas?
Okay.
I guess the big difference with The Sopranos as a movie is it's a prequel, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's one where it's like arguable if you had never seen The Sopranos. Hopefully you can come in and get a complete story there. Not knowing Deadwood, I feel like if I saw a movie continuation of a show that I love that had been off the air for 10 years, I would want it to be for the fans.
Well, now that you say that, I also do wonder, because it would seem like it should have been in the plan. It didn't necessarily have to be in the plan for Sopranos to do that, because Sopranos is, as you say, it's a prequel, so the nature of that story would automatically feel like a starting point for people who don't know it. But with something like Deadwood, I wonder if they just thought, rather than take the time to get new people invested, I wonder if that's reflected in the budget. If what they spent on the movie is just about wrapping up this story for the people that were part of it from day one and that was never part of the equation to think beyond that.
Well, if you have a new character, you could use that new character to do the voiceover. To do a 2-minute voiceover of a trailer speaking about her experiences being in Deadwood and what she's had to negotiate and who she's had to negotiate and why, I think that would have solved the problem. So that would have killed two birds with one stone. You still get the great trailer, but you get the new character talking about who these people are and their positions in the town and a little bit about their past. It would have worked, I think, if you wrote a really good 2-minute script.
No, yeah, that's a fair point. There's always like different little avenues you can take, especially when you add a new character, even if it's not narration, just giving a viewer a feeling that they're walking in that character's shoes in that world for a little while. That could do the trick all on its own. All right, we got another trailer to move on to right now, and this is a brand new one for the new Men in Black movie, which is now titled Men in Black International. Of course, this movie stars Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson as the new leads, and Tessa Thompson is playing a woman who's been searching for the Men in Black ever since she had an alien encounter as a child and wasn't neutralized. Silas, where do you stand on this new Men in Black movie? Because I've been like teetering on the edge of being interested or not.
I am really excited for this. I love the first Men in Black. I think the third Men in Black is way better than it has any right to be. But honestly, my favorite Men in Black was the animated series based on the movie. And that was, the characters were kind of loosely J and K, and L was sort of the new character for the show. But that was sort of more like what this movie is, which is just explore the world, make this big, weird sci-fi world that's happening behind the scenes. That's something I really want to see again. And Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, just one of those people has enough charisma to carry a movie, and both of them together again is really, really cool.
I feel like maybe I should explore this animated series, because that's the only thing that I don't have as part of, the overall Men in Black franchise. But it had, I had waning interest in it. With every single installment, I cared a little less and less. And then when I heard about this movie, I was most interested when it was the 22 Jump Street crossover, just because that sounded like something different and fresh and something that could breathe new life to it. Then, of course, that didn't pan out, and we wound up with Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. And who is going to say no to that duo? That right there rekindled my interest in the movie. But then we got those first, I think there were 2 other trailers at this point, or maybe a teaser and a trailer. I don't know. Whatever I've seen thus far, it hasn't really done it for me, where I don't know, I feel like the effects didn't look good. Some of the jokes weren't landing. This one, though, is a little bit of a game changer because I finally have a foundation to stand on through her character. Her story and how she gets into that facility, it got my attention very quickly. It made me care about her, and then all of a sudden, I started to catch on to the jokes feeling like they were properly timed. Of course, in previous trailers, we're talking about trailers, not the full context of the movie, not with that proper pacing. So maybe it's just that this trailer kind of hit the beats a little better than some of the others, but between that and the story here, I'm into it finally.
I hate to be a contrarian. I didn't like this trailer. I liked the other two a lot, and so I was excited. But this one felt a little like a TV movie in some of their beats, and that bothered me a little bit. And this is a director that I like and respect a lot. So I'm hoping that this overall work, like the Kumail Nanjiani character, I thought some of the jokes didn't work for me at all. I don't know. The story with Tessa is an interesting story, but I think there were some looks or some jokes that were a bit easy, and I'm like, I want to see something more. I'm with Silas though. I love 3. 3 gets unfairly vilified, and it's a damn good movie. And Michael Stolberg is fantastic in that movie, and there's a lot to explore here with the father-son relationship, and Josh Brolin's incredible in that. I hope this one captures that magic, because I love Hemsworth and I love Tessa together. No spoilers. I love them together in this movie, because I haven't seen anything about Men in Black International. I don't know how they get together or anything happens with them. But I like their chemistry together in the movie, so I'm hoping that that's what carries the day through this whole thing. And we'll see what Emma. We didn't see anything of Liam Neeson, like one line.
A little bit.
So what's Liam gonna do? What's Emma's? I want more of those two.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
I feel like Liam Neeson is up to no good. Does anybody else get those vibes?
Yeah, right. That seemed obvious too, which has bothered me in the trailer.
I wonder if it's a misdirect or just
Haven't
like,
we seen him
I don't know.
This? We've seen him play the villain, the quiet or the hidden villain a lot. So
well, it's not even just him. We've seen that like storytelling trope so many times over that like you don't even need an eagle-eyed viewer to spot something like that in a trailer.
Right.
I do wonder if we're going to see a connection to the first Men in Black, just given that 20 years ago, Tessa Thompson's character had this event, and like, were the Men in Black that came at that time?
I imagine we will. Wasn't in one of the previous trailers that we saw like a portrait of the two of them? Like a
Men in Black headquarters.
Headquarters. Yeah.
So I imagine if.
But specifically in her plot, it looks like Men in Black came in and mind wiped her family.
Like if the two of them were involved in her situation directly.
Were they out in the street in the does that look like J&K?
I don't know if it's J&K.
Because it's from a distance, right? Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't look. I didn't screenshot it.
And they have that de-aged Will Smith out there.
Yeah.
From Gemini Man.
Gemini Man.
De-aging
or Gemini
is the hot
Man
thing
if you
now.
go by First Man.
Well, we're going to dig more into Men in Black International soon enough as we near its release date. Oh, look what time it is. It is plug time. We have so much content coming your way tomorrow and through the weekend. Tomorrow, you have Collider Live to look forward to. And then, whoa, lots of stuff happening over the weekend. A lot to do with Avengers Endgame, and also a little something called Mailbag. Rocha, what do you got planned for the weekend?
Yeah, Dorina is coming on to make her debut on Collider Mailbag. Dorian Park's coming back on Sunday. Dorina will be on Saturday. And Perri and I recorded some Avengers Endgame stuff that should be coming out as well. And Sports Time tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Josh McCouga, Jennifer Sturger coming back on the show. We're going to talk about the NFL draft that's happening today and a bunch of other things. So please watch us on the Collider Sports YouTube and podcast feed.
Yes, and specifically with Endgame content, tonight we have our spoiler review going up. It is branded spoilers all over the place. So guess what? If you haven't seen the movie, you don't have to click on it. You don't have to click on it yet. Go see the movie, have some fun, come back and have an in-depth conversation with us. And of course, there's that spoiler review that I did with Christian, Mark Riley, and Dennis Zen, and then it's Rocha.
Oh, yeah, Coy and Amy Dallin did our Heroes one, which will drop tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So look for that one, which is completely separate from the ones Perri did. So you're getting a lot of goodness from us at breaking this thing down. Yeah,
we want you to get everybody's opinion, and boy, you're getting it the next couple of days. All right, let's move into these Twitter questions. Let's go with this one first. Oh, no, this is a complicated name, but I'm going to try to piece out these words here. I see it now. Fatal the Baptist. If you could pitch and cast a video game movie, what would you pick? Would it be animated or live action?
Ooh.
I'll just say my answer first because everybody knows it. think my dream come true would be a Bubble Bobble movie, and it should be animated. I lie. I was about to go down the Pixar route. I want Bubble Bobble, and I want Leica to make it.
Okay. Video game movie, right?
Yes.
Okay. What do you got, Silas?
I grew up playing computer games more so than any of the Sierra games. Secret of Monkey Island, LucasArts' Secret of Monkey Island. Why didn't that get made after Pirates of the Caribbean was so big?
I'm with you. I played games on the computer. I rarely bought those first-person games for the system. I prefer so there was a great computer game called Samurai Total War, which I played, and the sequel. I would spend hours learning about Japanese history and then moving and having these great samurai battles from above and seeing them all fight each other and the great music and all that stuff going on. So I would like to see that with Ken Watanabe coming back to play a samurai. And I always forget the actor's name who plays his second in command. He's a great actor as well. That is a Japanese actor. I would like to hear him come back. So I would love to see a Total War movie, a modern day samurai film. I like The Last Samurai. I like 13 Assassins, which came out a few years ago. So I would love to see that.
I also want a Q*bert movie. I want a Q*bert movie. It's not fair. The only movie he was in was Pixels, and it was garbage.
He was in Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh, no,
Right.
that's a good point.
Yes.
Oh, you make me feel better about that. Okay, I'm happy about that. And as we were talking about before, I need someone out there to make a kid-friendly movie about pinball, because I was very troubled by the fact that my little cousins I discovered over Passover, they didn't know what a pinball machine was.
Welcome to getting older, Perry.
That's okay. I understand when it comes to like old movies, old video games, something like that. There is something about just like the concept of a pinball machine, because it's not even just like, oh, pinball machines, they don't really exist. It's not like VHS tapes where very rarely do you find someone who will play anymore. They exist in arcades. They're still there. They're everywhere. They're being manufactured and celebrated. They're pieces of art. It's just it's a gaming staple, pinball.
Those same kids are going to ask, what's an arcade?
True. Very true. What's a jukebox?
What is this world coming to?
Well, when we brought in a Discman, Jeff brought in his Discman. Dorian didn't know what that was. He was like fumbling around with some kind of weird thing that was created.
There's like a video series in that idea
my God.
where we should just dig up old tech and bring it in and just like sit Dorian in front of a camera and see how long it takes him to figure it out.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
I want to bring in a talk boy. All right, this next question here. Oh, you're going to like this one, Rocha, even though I haven't finished reading it. It's from Brian the Night King. I just saw NFL Draft, so I'm like, this is for you. Brian the Night King is writing, with the NFL Draft tonight, my question is, if you owned a studio, oh boy, this is a big one, and there was a big movie industry draft where you could acquire any IP, what would be your number one pick? Oh, wow.
Any IP?
Any IP. I mean, that does seem like the given number one at this point in time.
Yeah.
If you had asked me like 2-3 years ago, I probably would have picked Star Wars.
Yeah, I did a poll after the Endgame trailer, Episode 9 trailer came out that day on my feed for 2 days, and people were more excited. If you could go into one theater and see one movie over the other one, which would it be, Episode 9 or Avengers Endgame? Avengers Endgame won 60-40. So that's the smarter move right now for me, based on that for the IP. But yeah, normally Star Wars, but Marvel.
Is it a no-brainer for you?
You know, I have a weird one just because it's my favorite thing ever. And it's not valuable at all as a franchise. But The Prisoner, which is a TV show from the 60s, is my favorite thing in the world. And to tie it back to James Bond, that was like my dream, that the next James Bond, you know, because he drives off in a car having resigned at the end of Spectre. Just do The Prisoner, but with 007.
I'm down with that.
I think if I could manipulate the system a little, and not necessarily an IP, but batch all of one property together, I would take control of all the Stephen King adaptations. Every single one. Sure. I'm very excited about the Salem's Lot news with James Wan producing. I hope they find a good director. All right, next question here. Let's go with this one from Anthony Shannon, who says, hi from Ireland. What is your so bad it's almost good movie? Mine are Johnny Dangerously with Michael Keaton, Hudson Hawk with Bruce Willis, and Flash Gordon. So bad it's almost good.
I love Hudson Hawk, so I'm 1,000% in your corner. But I will say, in this, A Million Ways to Die in the West is one of those films that I do not understand why I love it as much as I do. But every time it's on, and Wild Wild West, and it may just be because I'm a sucker for Westerns, but both those films I know objectively are absolutely terrible, but I think they're so bad they're good. And so I enjoy watching them, especially Branagh's terrible Southern accent in Wild Wild West. Look, Liam Neeson getting a flower in his butt, like where are you going to see that if not A Million Ways to Die in the West? And Charlize is great in that movie.
I'll bring it back to John Singleton. I mentioned Abduction earlier, and not even to make fun of the movie, because it's just such a peculiar work of film. It doesn't have anything to do with an abduction. Which
this is one Kevin Bacon and
this is Taylor
Courtney Love?
Lautner. It was supposed to be like a franchise launcher.
And Lily Collins.
And Jason Isaac and Sigourney Weaver, and it has this amazing cast.
Interesting.
But it is a strange movie.
I did not realize what you were referencing earlier. Now it's all coming back
it's
to
odd
me.
because I did the junket, and like my roommate and I just got so like obsessed with some of the plot elements. But now I probably have seen that movie 25 times.
Wow.
And every time I just notice weird new things to it.
So I used to write a piece for movies.com called Defending Bad Movies. So I just did a random little search and I saw what was coming up. I really adore Not Another Teen Movie. I think that is the dumbest but most delightful thing ever. That's one of my favorite spoof movies. Apparently I also wrote about the remake of Heartbreak Kid with Malin Ackerman. I think that's
I love that movie.
It's so funny.
It's so funny and crazy, stupid fun.
She's so good at it.
Oh my God.
So I had that one.
It's a hard on.
All right, this is a very me answer. I also had the Sorority Row remake, which I don't think I've revisited since it came out in like 2010, but I do remember really liking it way back then. All right, that's my list. I just exposed a lot about myself.
My friend
there.
Heather Brown is in Not Another Teen Movie. She's the girl that goes into the bathroom and has the accident and that causes the whole thing. That was her, and we all went to see her because we'd been in a play with her here in the early days of me living in Los Angeles. We all went together to go see the movie with her, and we're like, "Oh, that's the role? Okay, all right."
Good for her.
Yeah, good for
what
her.
What a claim to fame.
Yeah.
All right, we got another question here. Oh, I don't like these questions, but I'm going to ask it anyway. John Ashford is asking, if you had to only see one movie this whole year, all right, we have to take Avengers Endgame out of the equation because we already saw it, but if you could only see one more movie for the rest of the year, what would you pick?
Okay, I am torn between like the fanboy side, which says Star Wars Episode 9, just because I need to know how it ends. But the movie that I'm probably looking forward the most is The Dead Don't Die, just because I love Jim Jarmusch, and that just looks like so much
That
fun.
doesn't surprise me. What you got?
The Bigfoot one with Sam Elliott. That's the one.
Wow. Okay.
I saw that trailer and it's like, that's a John Rocha film. And I was like, I can't wait to go see this. Are you excited to all the Jarmusch stuff coming out of Criterion, all the new titles that are coming out?
Yeah. No,
right?
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think Patterson came out last. And
right.
That it might be my favorite movie the last 10 years.
I love Patterson.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Realistically, I'd probably go with Episode 9 because I would feel left out otherwise. Like, I would just be so concerned in that case of it being spoiled for me that I would need to jump in ASAP. But if I took that out of the equation here, I think I'd probably go It Chapter 2. I'm super, super excited. I'm also so nervous given how much I fell in love with that the first installment of it.
Right.
I just want to see them stick the landing so badly.
I guess you can sort of take dates into, because Star Wars comes out in December, so even if you don't see it this year, you could see it 2 weeks later.
I love how you just cheated this system. I take Silas's answer. I'm going with It Chapter 2. All right, I think we can do 2 more questions here.
All right.
Let's go with, all right, good old Chris D'Onofrio is asking, if you could put the core Avengers cast in any other genre of film, what would it be? Give me a Western. Is that pretty much your answer, Rocha?
No, not with those guys. No, because we tried that already, the Cowboys and Aliens. It didn't really work. That's a good question. I think an espionage film, a spy film, would be great with Chris Evans and.
I seem to remember a movie that was kind of like I don't know, Winter Soldier, a little bit, a little bit.
Good point, a political thriller. But I think an espionage film would be interesting with Robert Downey Jr. as the villain and Chris Evans as the hero, and having it all kind of play out the way it plays out. Maybe Scarlett Johansson is like the Secretary of Defense or something. Like there's stuff to play with there, definitely.
I want a low-key day in the life comedy. I just want to like a day in the life of the Avengers on an off day.
Like
That's what I want.
Like life itself? Is that what you mean?
How did we get there? Did I say something that triggered that response?
No, just a day in the life kind of thing. No,
I do not want that. I want.
I know how much you didn't like that movie.
No. And now my mom's going to be insulted. She loved it. And in between the mission, just like a regular day, chilling, just being like weird and kooky and making jokes together. Like what's the short that Thor did with what's his face?
Oh yeah,
I can't believe I can't remember his name right now.
Is it Kenneth or Wayne or something like that? It was one of those names.
Oh, it's really going to bother me.
Daryl.
Thank you. Yeah. I want a feature version, not necessarily just of the two of them, but like a day at like the Avengers compound or something.
And this may be my answer for any cast, put them on a starship. We already know Chris Hemsworth was Kirk's father serving in Starfleet. Maybe the rest of the crew he's serving with is our other Avengers.
I'm into that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Star Trek with them would be fantastic.
All right, we've got one more big one here, and this one's coming from John Ashford, who's asking, in honor of Deadwood and Sopranos, what series/old film would you want to return to the screen? I'd like to see the characters of Silverado return.
Oh, that's a great line at the end there. A Silverado sequel. They're all still alive, I think. Danny Glover, right? Kevin Costner, Scott Glenn. Yeah, I think they're all, Jeff Goldblum, they're all still alive. It's a great cast. I think Brian Dennehy's still alive. Linda Hunt. This is a great cast. I would love to see that.
Oh, so you're just like stealing his answer now?
What was the question again? If
you had to bring back a series or old film to the screen, what would it be? I'll just like get my obvious answer out of the way first and say, where is my continuation of Ash vs. Evil Dead? That was a great idea you teed up and then you just left me hanging.
I thought it had a happy, good ending.
But there was more to it that I wanted to see. There was so many, and especially with now I'm trying not to spoil it, so this is going to make sense to like 99% of our viewership because no one watched that show, and that's why it was canceled. But what they teed up was so cinematic to me. Also, I feel like they should go there. What do you got?
The first movie I remember watching as a kid, and like it broke my brain that it didn't have a sequel, was Joe Dante's Inner Space. Just because it ends with a cliffhanger. And as a kid, I was like, I want to see the next one. And my parents were like, well, there is no next one.
Right.
And so that I'd like to see.
Look,
pressure's on.
I'm going to date myself, but I'll do an old reference. Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins. Like, that ended with Remo was supposed to be an American spy with multiple adventures, and it never got past that one with Fred Ward, a young Fred Ward, and Joel Grey playing in essence, the Tilda Swinton role, and trying to teach him how to be a thing there. And I would throw Rome in there, the TV series. That was unfortunately canceled. They announced it halfway through, so they had to adjust the scripts, and they shoved way too much in that last season that didn't make sense. And I would love to see them bring back a Rome movie and bring Kevin McKidd and Ray Stevenson back to be in those roles. That'd be a lot of fun.
Solid choice right there. Guys, we got so creative. Hopefully you know someone out there who can make all these ideas happen. We would appreciate it. You know what? I appreciate you two being here today. Silas, thank you for visiting us again.
Thank you for having me.
Tell everybody where to find all your work, because you have some super cool stuff you're working on, and I want them all to see it.
Movie Bill, if you have the Regal Theater app, make sure to scan the Avengers Endgame poster. There are some exclusive poster designs that will play in the AR space, but check it again in about a week. I don't have a specific date yet, but there is some very fun spoilers. One of the most fun I've ever had writing a piece I wrote after seeing Endgame, and it's going to be available in about a week.
I cannot wait to read that. Rocha, take the opportunity. Where can everyone find you?
You can find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And please come find me on the Top 10 Show. We do that now. We got our own feed. Go on there on any of the, wherever you download podcasts. Look for the Top 10, number 10 there. Come join us, and the Cinephiles as well. There you go.
And I'm Twitter and Instagram at P. Nemiroff. Adam in the booth. You're the best. Thank you for all your hard work. Guys, thank you for watching this show. Please like and share it. Check us out in podcast form. That's where you should comment, rate, all of that good stuff. Keep downloading them all, please. We will see you Monday, 4 p.m. PT Live for a brand new episode of Movie Talk.